You are not here by accident. These words are not random, and this moment is not coincidence. Something greater has been reaching for you, pressing against the edges of your heart, waiting for you to lean in. What you are about to hear is not another inspirational phrase, not another fleeting comfort. It is a direct answer to the ache you've carried in silence. If you dare to listen, you will feel it. The weight, the urgency, the unmistakable presence of love that refuses to let you go. You cup your hands around the small, trembling ember of curiosity inside you and lean closer, as if proximity could coax meaning into clearer shape. The voice you have felt like a soft current at the edge of hearing becomes insistently present, not loud or demanding, but steady and intimate, like someone kneeling to tie the laces of your heart so you can walk without stumbling. You do not need to manufacture an answer or perform some perfect response. Simply listen. The invitation is simple and radical. Let your attention be held, receive what comes, and allow the rest of the world to fall into the soft blur it belongs to for a little while. You might have expected answers delivered in tidy phrases or urgent commands, but what meets you is steadiness, an attentive nearness that aligns with the ache you thought was only yours. This is not a lecture about rules or an abstract promise detached from the grit of daily life. Instead, it is a deliberate drawing near to gently settle you into a reality that has been true all along. You are noticed, known, and being called into something fuller. The language may sound like reassurance at first, but it moves beyond words into a presence that rearranges your priorities without demanding violence to your natural rhythms. You remember times when silence felt like absence, when prayers felt like bottles cast into an indifferent ocean. Now the silence is reinterpreted. It is the space where someone waits, watching for you to look up. There is a tenderness in the way the words arrive, never flippant, never distant, and it grounds you. You can almost feel the corners of your chest unclench. This presence is not an idea you can debate away. It is lived, bodily, settling like warmth that radiates from within. You breathe differently now, as if the air itself has been reannotated with meaning. There is urgency in this encounter, but it does not demand frenzy. The stakes are rightly named. What you decide about your openness now affects how healing and alignment will come. You sense the option to walk away and the cost of turning from what could be exact provision for the longing in your soul. And yet, the tone is not coercive. Instead, it is liberating. You are offered a true alternative to the frantic search for answers in the marketplaces of approval and achievement. A hush falls around the scattered demands of your life, and you feel the relief of being invited rather than required. As you hold your attention here, a gentle assurance moves through you, unwrapping long-held fears. You are not being summoned to a new set of obligations, or a stricter standard you will inevitably fail to meet. Rather, you are being invited into relationship, one that has known you from the beginning and continues to come near through the seasons. The voice reminds you that longing itself is evidence. Your ache for more means you have been called. It reframes previous disappointments, not as final verdicts, but as parts of a preparation you couldn't see while you were in the middle of it. The mystery of being seen begins to shift the way you walk through ordinary days. You notice simple things take on new meaning. The sun on your face feels less like a coincidence and more like a signature of care. A kind word from a stranger ripples into a reminder that you are not invisible. Small mercies start to collect like coins into a jar you forgot you had, and the jar rings when moved, proof that something has been accumulating even if you hadn't kept score. The voice encourages you to collect these tiny proofs, to let them accumulate into a testimony of presence that steadies you in harder seasons. Doubt will come. That is expected and named within the encounter itself. You are not shamed for suspicion. Instead, doubt is welcomed into the conversation as a companion that can be trusted to be reshaped rather than silenced. You are allowed to ask hard questions, to show up with ragged edges, and to voice the suspicions that have kept you awake. In the listening, you find that your questions are heard fully, never minimized, and that asking does not disqualify your receiving. The invitation is paradoxical. You are encouraged to be honest about your doubts and simultaneously to lean into trust. This moment asks something simple of you: courage to lean in and a willingness to stay long enough for the presence to make itself known. It asks you to risk curiosity over cynicism and waiting over frantic chasing. There is a quiet promise threaded through the words. If you lean in, you will find more than comfort. You will find alignment. The longings that have tugged at you are not arbitrary. They are precisely the cords that will guide you toward healing and purpose. You begin to sense an outline of where that path could lead, less dramatic perhaps than you imagined, but more durable than quick fixes. So you choose, in this breath, to listen. You let the world's urgent noise recede to the margins and give space to the voice that draws near. It is not theatrical. It does not announce itself with fireworks. Instead, it steadies you like a hand at your back and teaches the slow rhythms of trust. Pause, breathe, listen, respond. You find that presence is not a commodity to be earned or a reward for good behavior. It is an open invitation extended because you are already beloved. The simplicity of being in this steadied attention begins to reframe your expectations for how help will come. As the ember of curiosity grows into a steadier flame within your chest, you feel a soft courage blooming, one that is not loud but persistent. You are not being hurried into spectacle but invited into intimacy. That intimacy will not fix everything at once, but it will alter the way you carry your days, replacing frantic grasping with a steadying hope. You hear again, more clearly now, that the voice calling you is the source of your life, drawing near not to condemn but to settle, and to show you something you have not yet seen. You stay, you listen, and in the listening you begin to gather the first clear threads of a life that can be trusted to unfold. You stand in the awareness that you have never been unseen, though at times you convinced yourself otherwise. The words that reach you now remind you that every moment of joy and every passage of trial has been held within a gaze that does not turn away. It is not the kind of attention that scrutinizes, waiting for failure. It is the steady presence of love that lingers, even when you thought you were alone. You remember the hidden tears you once buried into pillows or wiped quickly before anyone could notice. None of them vanished into nothing. Each one was received, noted, and carried with care. There were nights when your prayers sounded so faint you wondered if they rose above the ceiling, or if they were lost in the chaos of countless other voices. You worried your needs might be overlooked, insignificant compared to the greater crises of the world. But here, the assurance comes with quiet clarity. Every cry has been heard. No whisper has been ignored. Even when your lips could not form words, when all you could offer was trembling or silence, presence remained with you. There was no need for eloquence, no polished phrasing to earn a response. The weight of your longing was itself enough to summon love's attention. You begin to recall moments when help appeared, subtle yet undeniable. The friend who reached out on a day you nearly broke, the song that played just when you needed courage. The sudden sense of calm when anxiety pressed hardest. These were not random. They were the evidence of a presence weaving strength into the fabric of your days, even when you did not recognize the pattern. It is only now, looking back, that you start to see how those threads connected, forming a design hidden beneath the ordinary. The design was not accidental, it was purposeful, shaping you for something you are still discovering. This care was never limited to the visible. Even in places you could not see, you were surrounded, circled by protection. You might have thought you were vulnerable, defenseless in certain seasons, but a holy presence stood guard in ways beyond your perception. You were never abandoned to chaos. Instead, every hunger in your spirit, every restless search for meaning, was proof of being beckoned forward. The ache itself was not absence but invitation, a signal that you were being prepared, step by step, through every lesson, even the ones that scarred you. The painful moments were not wasted. They became the very soil where resilience could take root. You remember the scriptures you turned to, sometimes out of desperation, sometimes out of habit. They were more than pages, more than ink. They were living letters of love, written with you in mind. You may not have realized it then, but every passage that clung to your heart was chosen for you. The comfort you found there was not coincidence. It was targeted, intentional, shaped for your exact moment. Now the invitation becomes clear. Release the armor of constant vigilance, the guarded stance you adopted to protect yourself. You are urged to trust again, not blindly, but as a child trusts a parent, with open-handed reliance, not calculation. Your prayers, too, are transformed. Anxiety no longer has to dictate their form or block their rise. You are reminded that you are not cut off from heaven, not held at a distance. From the very moment your spirit whispered for help, care was already in motion. You may have thought you were waiting for a response, but the answer was already on its way, moving through channels you could not see. Celestial messengers, invisible but real, had already gone forth to begin the liberation you sought. This truth reframes your waiting. You are not forgotten, not just another face in the crowd. Your life matters, and it matters in ways larger than you understand. The narrative expands beyond personal struggle into a larger reality. You are part of a spiritual battle that runs deeper than the visible. The opposition you feel, the doubt and despair that sneak into your thoughts, are not random accidents. They are strategies of an adversary who hopes to fracture your hope. But the reassurance is equally clear. Every plan of the enemy is shattered by a power greater than any scheme. The presence that holds you is not fragile. It does not negotiate with darkness. It conquers. It heals. It brings peace where fear tries to take root. You begin to see your obstacles differently. They are not mere misfortunes or cruel strokes of chance. They are used, repurposed, transformed into catalyst for your awakening. Each challenge is an invitation to lean deeper into trust, to depend not on empty tradition but on daily relationship. You realize vigilance and wisdom are not abstract virtues but shields that guard you. Even the words you speak carry weight. Your heart and your speech are places of vulnerability and power. You are told that every tender part of you is precious, guarded carefully, even as they are sometimes targeted by forces that do not wish you well. And yet, you are never left defenseless. You are never alone. The words linger like a balm. Your future is not a bleak continuation of present hardship. It is a canvas, a wide horizon prepared with wonders yet to unfold. The present may carry shadows, but shadows are temporary. Seasons of difficulty pass, and none can delay or diminish the blessings already destined for you. Even those who have hurt you or dismissed your faith are not the final word on your story. Someday, perhaps, they may seek forgiveness, but your confidence does not rest on whether they change. Your stability is anchored instead in a devotion that does not change, a love that remains constant. The message repeats, but not as redundancy, more like layers of reassurance building into certainty. You no longer have to chase approval or scramble for validation. The promises given to you are not fragile or conditional. They are solid, unshakable, immune to the shifting winds of human opinion. When the world offers empty reassurances, you can lean on the one truth that has never failed you, never deceived you, never withdrawn blessing. You hear clearly. Those who keep hope in this presence will never be abandoned. It is here, in this second unfolding, that you begin to rest in the reality of being fully seen, not glanced at, not occasionally noticed, but thoroughly known in every season. The gaze that lingers on you is not distracted, not impatient. It is steady, affectionate, unrelenting. You realize that to be seen this way is not to be exposed to shame, but to be covered with compassion. You have been witnessed all along, every joy, every loss, every hesitation, and still chosen, still loved. This awareness reshapes how you move forward, not as someone grasping for attention, but as someone secure in the knowledge that they were never invisible. You find yourself asked to consider trust, not as a rigid rule, but as an invitation to rest. The scriptures you once leaned on, sometimes hurriedly, sometimes desperately, are reframed for you. They are not only instruction manuals or moral guidelines. They are letters alive with intention, written with your name woven into every line. The voice reminds you that these words are not static. They move, they breathe. They meet you at the level of your humanity, acknowledging your weakness, drawing you closer with compassion rather than intimidation. You are told again, trust, not because you are flawless, but because you are loved. It becomes clear that anxiety is no longer meant to dominate the way you pray. You have carried fears that your prayers must be perfect to be heard, that somehow your worry disqualifies you from closeness. But here, that fear is dismantled. You are assured that nothing separates you from heaven. Your spirit's quiet whisper has already been acknowledged, and the response was set in motion long before you felt it. The words resound in your heart. The very day you asked for help, even in the most faltering, fragile way, care was already deployed on your behalf. This truth changes your posture. You no longer come to prayer as if begging at a locked door. Instead, you begin to imagine the doors already opening as you step forward. It shifts the balance. Prayer is not performance, but relationship. The unseen messengers moving in the background are proof that you are never left to navigate alone. Liberation, though sometimes slow in its unfolding, has already begun. You realize your life is not random, your struggles not meaningless. You are an essential part of something eternal, something deeper than what you can measure with sight. Still, the reality of opposition is not ignored. You are reminded that an adversary seeks to plant seeds of doubt and despair. You felt it before. The nagging suspicion that you're forgotten. The whisper that says your efforts are futile. But the promise given is stronger than any accusation. The power you lean on dismantles every scheme. There is no trap that cannot be broken, no lie that cannot be undone. The authority that guards you is not fragile or conditional. It is decisive, unshakable, and utterly committed to your freedom. Even so, the path is not presented as easy. You are told directly, the obstacles you face are not random misfortunes. They serve a refining purpose. They teach you dependence, not mechanical, not rooted in ritual alone, but in a living, breathing trust that grows each day. Each challenge becomes an invitation to anchor deeper, to see that what seemed like delay or denial was shaping endurance. You begin to notice how these lessons, though painful, have already stretched your capacity for patience, compassion, and resilience. What felt like punishment begins to look more like preparation. Wisdom and vigilance are set before you as shields. You are invited to guard your heart, not to close it off from love, but to protect its sacredness from those who do not wish you well. You realize that your words carry a weight you sometimes underestimate. Each vulnerable part of you is both precious and contested. And yet, the voice reminds you again, you are not defenseless. You are watched over with care, guided away from harm, and accompanied in ways you might never perceive. The assurance remains steady, you are never alone. A glimpse of your future is then revealed, painted not as vague comfort, but as a promise. The canvas of your days stretches wide, filled with wonders you cannot yet imagine. Present shadows do not erase future light. The hardships you endure now cannot delay the blessings already set aside for you. No power has the authority to withhold what is meant for you. Even those who mocked your faith, dismissed your hope, or hurt your heart cannot rewrite your story. Their change, if it comes, is not the root of your confidence. Your stability is not tethered to their recognition, but to an unchanging devotion that has never wavered. You feel the invitation again. Root yourself in promises that do not shift. Stop chasing after approval that changes with the wind. You are being taught to stand firm, knowing that your life does not need to bend to the unstable words of others. The foundation you are given is solid, unshakable. You don't need to rely on fragile reassurance from temporary voices. Instead, you are anchored by the one presence that cannot deceive, cannot abandon, and will never revoke blessing from those who choose to hope. This realization begins to free you. The endless cycle of comparing yourself, of striving for recognition, loosens its grip. You can begin to let shifting opinions pass like wind against stone. You do not need to clutch at every comment or every silence, wondering if they determine your worth. You find yourself standing taller, less reactive to the noise around you. The truth spoken here is that you are held safe in hands stronger than circumstance. You begin to imagine a future that is not fragile but firm. The winds of blessing are already gathering, and you are shielded within them. You are encouraged to anchor your faith now, not later, not once everything is clear, but here in the middle of uncertainty. Every wavering thought becomes an opportunity to choose what your heart already knows is true. The word that sustains you is not shifting but eternal, a foundation that cannot be shaken no matter how the world trembles. In this moment, you are reminded again that you are invited to live from a place of peace, not panic. Each morning, as you rise, the covenant is renewed, not because you have earned it, but because love has not forgotten you. You are urged to step into each day not with frantic striving, but with confidence that presence is already ahead of you. When you speak, you will be heard. When you wait, you will be sustained. When you tremble, you will be steadied. The invitation is simple. Lean into trust as a child would, not calculating outcomes but resting in love that has proven itself again and again. You close your eyes and feel the shift deep in your chest. What once felt like fragile hope begins to settle as something steadier. It is not about dramatic changes or instant fixes. It is about knowing that you are not forgotten, that your life is woven with purpose, and that the one who holds you will never let you go. You are safe to trust. You are safe to breathe. And in that safety, you are free to live differently, anchored, secure, and unshaken. The path before you is not painted in illusions of ease, but in promises that speak honestly about hardship and triumph alike. You are told plainly that trials are not random storms flung at you without reason. They are refining fires, necessary awakenings that call you to depend on something greater than yourself. When challenges come, and you know they will, you are reminded that they are not meaningless interruptions but woven into a larger purpose. Each pain becomes a sculptor's chisel, shaping strength where fragility once lived. You begin to see that purpose is not found in escaping trial, but in discovering how trial uncovers resilience and faith within you. You remember moments when obstacles seemed designed to break you. Yet here, the voice reframes them. Not curses, not accidents, but invitations. Each setback is a lesson in leaning closer, in learning dependence that is not mere tradition or habit, but daily trust that breathes and grows. You are told that vigilance and wisdom are your shields, not just poetic ideals, but practical tools. To guard your heart means protecting the tender spaces within you, the places most precious and also most targeted by those who do not wish you well. And yet, reassurance comes again. You do not guard alone. You are never left without a companion, never abandoned to your own devices. The adversary is real. The whispers of doubt, the sharp pangs of despair, the temptations to give up, these are not coincidental. They are deliberate strategies, efforts to pull you from the truth. But you are promised that every scheme is shattered by a power far greater. No lie, no shadow, no deception has authority to undo the love and devotion spoken over you. You may feel weak, but weakness itself becomes the stage for a greater strength. Every wound can become an opening for healing. Every dark corner can be lit. The assurance stretches further. Your future is a canvas filled with wonder. Even if today feels clouded, the storms will not last forever. Hardship is temporary, blessing is inevitable. Not delayed forever, not withheld, but timed with wisdom beyond your understanding. Those who have hurt you or dismissed you are not the ones who hold the ink to your story. They may one day seek forgiveness, but whether or not they change does not dictate your stability. You are rooted not in their shifting choices, but in a devotion that never falters. This devotion gives you freedom from the exhausting chase for approval. You are invited to release the endless cycle of measuring yourself against others' voices. Their shifting affirmations cannot determine your worth. You begin to learn to let their words pass, like wind against stone, knowing your anchor lies elsewhere. There is liberation in no longer needing to scramble for validation. You can rest in the assurance that your life is not at the mercy of human opinion. And still, you are invited to lift your eyes to a horizon painted with blessing. The winds of goodness gather, and you are held secure. The call is not to wait passively, but to anchor yourself here and now, to choose trust even in the middle of uncertainty. You are told to lay down every wavering thought, to silence the restless what-ifs that swirl in your mind, and to remember that your heart already knows the truth. The word spoken over you is eternal, unchanging, a foundation that no storm can shake. Each day you wake becomes a renewal of covenant. You are urged to carve out quiet space, to return again and again to conversation. Speak with honesty, listen with openness. The promise given is peace, peace that the world cannot manufacture, peace deeper than temporary relief. Whether you come confident or trembling, grateful or frustrated, you are welcomed. There is no threshold you must cross perfectly to be heard. You arrive as you are, and that is enough. You imagine morning light spilling across your room, and in that simple moment, the presence is there. Doors that once seemed closed will open. Opportunities you thought were gone forever will be made new. The voice you hear does not grow tired of you, does not sigh with impatience. Instead, you are longed for. Not measured, not judged for emotional turbulence, but desired as you are. Even before the noise of the world seeps in, there is space for you to whisper your hopes, your fears, your confessions. And always, always, love rushes in to surround you. You are invited to find intimacy in quiet. This intimacy is not grand gestures or spectacular offerings, but the honest fragrance of your vulnerability. When you speak openly, whether through broken sentences, awkward pauses, or silent sighs, it is received as precious. There's no need to polish your words. There's no requirement to hide the parts of yourself you think are unworthy. Every longing, every struggle, every dream, and even every shadow of doubt can be brought here without rejection. You are understood better than you even understand yourself. The storms that threaten to undo you have not been ignored. Every harsh word spoken against you, every act of cruelty that bruised your spirit, has been noticed. They do not go unredeemed. When you thought you could not breathe under the weight of stress, peace was already being whispered into your soul. You are promised strength where weakness has made its home, tranquility where anxiety has claimed territory. Even if you falter, you are assured that fear will not overcome you. The anchor is secure. The promises hold. The voice of doubt is called what it is: a lie. You are told again that love has no expiration. There are no conditions that could cancel it. Each day, even this day, is marked for victory, for breakthrough, for beginnings you have not yet imagined. Sorrow is not your destiny. Pain is not your permanent address. Your inheritance is joy. Your portion is eternal life. Your promise is restoration. This moment itself, these words in your ear are a sign. Your eyes are urged to open wide to see help and healing already on the way. What lingers at the close of this moment is assurance. You are not forgotten. You are not wandering aimlessly. Even the pain and confusion you thought wasted are being transformed into stepping stones. You are loved, deeply, intentionally, permanently. That love was yours before you even asked for it, and the invitation is not to perform but to trust, to risk belief that good is unfolding for you even now. The horizon stretches before you, and the words that rise to meet you paint a picture not of despair, but of possibility. You are told clearly that the present, shadowed as it may seem, does not hold authority over the future. What lies ahead is a canvas prepared with color and light that you cannot yet imagine. Hardship is not denied. It is acknowledged as real, as sharp, as heavy. But hardship is temporary. The blessings already set in place cannot be delayed indefinitely, nor can they be diminished by what you face now. You are urged to see yourself not as trapped in cycles of struggle, but as someone on the cusp of unfolding wonders. The assurance comes again. Seasons of difficulty pass. They may stretch long, but they do not last forever. The suffering you endure now is not the final word. The future prepared for you is already written in a different ink, one of restoration and promise. Those who dismissed you, those who spoke lightly of your hope, may one day return seeking what they once mocked. But your confidence is not tethered to their repentance. You are rooted instead in the unchanging devotion of the one who never faltered. The shifting of human hearts does not determine your worth or the trajectory of your blessing. This realization sets you free from the chase for approval. You are invited to release the exhausting need to earn validation. The promises that anchor you are not fragile, not contingent on someone else's recognition. They are solid. They stand firm regardless of public opinion, regardless of silence or praise. When the world offers shallow comfort, you are reminded that you do not need to cling to it. Instead, you hold to what has never deceived you, never revoked its gift, never abandoned you. This is the stability that allows you to breathe deeply, knowing you will not be shaken. Your gaze is then turned toward peace, not a peace that waits for circumstances to shift, but one that enters now, even in the shadow. You are told that each morning is an invitation. Rise, and let the covenant be renewed again. It is not dependent on your performance. It does not expire when your emotions fluctuate. Every sunrise is a reminder that you are welcomed still, that nothing has changed in the devotion set upon you. You are urged to carve out a quiet space, a place where the noise of the world cannot drown the whisper that steadies you. In those quiet moments, you are encouraged to speak honestly. You do not need to polish your sentences or mask your frustrations. Whether you come trembling or confident, weary or grateful, you are heard. The presence that waits for you is not impatient, not distracted. It delights simply in the fact that you come. Each time you open your heart, the promise of peace is renewed. This peace is not artificial, not manufactured by fleeting comforts. It is deeper, sturdier, a tranquility that holds you even when external storms refuse to calm. You are reminded again. Doors you thought were sealed will open. Places you believed were closed off forever will reveal new passage. The assurance is repeated not for redundancy but for depth, like waves carving truth into the shoreline of your heart. You are longed for, not judged, not measured by emotional perfection, but desired simply because you are loved. Even before the world stirs with its demands, you are invited to whisper your hopes and fears. And in that stillness, you are surrounded by love that refuses to leave. The intimacy of such moments becomes your sanctuary. No grand performance is required. What pleases most is your honesty, your willingness to share as you are. The smallest offering of truth from you carries more fragrance than the grandest display you could construct. Your struggles, your doubts, your dreams, your raw honesty, they are all received without condemnation. You are not required to edit yourself before being welcomed. The presence that holds you knows your story better than you do and receives it without hesitation. When you remember the storms that threatened to break you, you are assured that they were not ignored. Every harsh word, every cruelty that bruised your soul has been witnessed. They were not beyond the power of healing. In the very moments you thought you would collapse under stress, you were being sustained by promises whispered beneath the noise. You are told that strength is offered where you are weak, tranquility where anxiety presses hardest. Even faltering steps are not failures. You may stumble, but you will not be overcome. The anchor is strong, the promise is immovable, the love unconditional. This truth reframes each day. No moment is wasted, no cry unheard, no step unseen. The voice of doubt that tells you otherwise is exposed as false. You are told clearly, abandonment is a lie. The truth is presence, you are accompanied. Every trial you face is encompassed by love that has no condition, no expiration. Today itself is not ordinary. It is marked, set aside for victory, for breakthrough, for beginnings you cannot yet perceive. What feels like stagnation is actually preparation. What feels like delay is often the ripening of blessing. Your inheritance is joy. Your destiny is not sorrow, not endless pain. The promises given to you are sealed in love that cannot break. You are reminded to let your heart rejoice, not only because of what you hope for in the distance, but because help and restoration are already moving toward you now. Your eyes are asked to widen, to look for the evidence of care, the small signs that the tide is already shifting. Each moment becomes an opportunity to see proof of promises at work. As this section of the message settles in you, it becomes less about dramatic revelation and more about steadying confidence. You realize you do not need to strive endlessly for security. You already have it. You are not waiting for approval. You already belong. You do not have to bend under the opinions of others. You are rooted in something deeper, something eternal. From this place of security, you are free. Free to hope again, free to breathe again, free to live without the constant fear of collapse. And so, the canvas of your future remains wide, painted with the brushstrokes of love and promise. Even as you walk through shadows, you are reminded. The shadows are temporary, the light permanent. Every morning is a renewal, every prayer an invitation, every breath an opportunity to anchor deeper in peace. You are not forgotten. You are not lost. You are held firmly, safely, in hands that will never release you. The whisper that reaches you now is softer than thunder, gentler than wind, and yet it carries weight enough to still the chaos around you. You are invited into a space of intimacy, not defined by rituals or spectacular gestures, but by quiet honesty. Here, in the silence you often avoid, you find sanctuary. The presence does not ask for performance. It does not demand polished words or perfect composure. What matters is that you come as you are, bringing every fragment of yourself, even the ones you are tempted to hide. The invitation is simple. Speak and listen. Speak with the rawness of your heart. Speak the unedited truth of your longing, your confusion, your joy, and your grief. Then listen, not with your ears only, but with the deep chambers of your soul. The whisper does not compete with the world's noise. It waits for you to make room, to hush the restless thoughts long enough to notice. When you do, you begin to sense love moving like a current beneath the surface of your being, steady and unwavering. You remember how often you've masked your words before others, trying to sound stronger than you felt. But here, no mask is needed. Your broken sentences, your sighs, your questions, all are welcomed. The intimacy of these moments becomes more precious than grand displays of strength. You realize that vulnerability itself is the offering most cherished. Each time you lower your guard, you discover not judgment, but compassion. The whisper says, you are seen, you are loved, you are safe. These quiet moments are described as fragrant offerings, not because of their outward grandeur, but because of their authenticity. A single sigh, a whispered cry for help, a trembling thank you, all rise like incense, pleasing not because of their polish, but because they are true. You begin to believe that honesty is enough, that openness is more powerful than pretense. The smallest admission of weakness becomes a doorway for strength to enter. You are reminded of storms that once threatened to wreck your peace. They were not ignored. Every harsh word that wounded you, every cruel action that left scars, was seen. None of it was beyond the reach of healing. Even when you felt breathless under pressure, when anxiety threatened to crush your chest, you were not abandoned. The whisper assures you. Peace was already at work, woven into your days, offered quietly, even when you could not perceive it. Strength was being promised where you felt weakest. Calm was already seated where panic tried to reign. You are told that faltering is not failure. Even if you stumble, even if your steps are uncertain, fear will not claim victory over you. The promises given are anchors, anchors that hold when winds howl and waters rise. The voice of doubt that insists you are forsaken is unmasked as a lie. The truth spoken instead is steady. You are accompanied, you are upheld, you are not abandoned. Every trial you walk through is encircled by love that does not waver. This day, the whisper insists, is not like every other. It is marked. It carries significance set aside for breakthrough, for beginnings unseen. The love spoken over you is not fragile or temporary. It does not expire. It is sealed, permanent, unbreakable. With this assurance, you are urged to let your heart rejoice, not out of denial of hardship, but because joy is your inheritance. Pain is not your destiny. Eternal life, enduring joy, restoration, these are the gifts already moving toward you. As the whisper deepens, you are encouraged to notice how promises are not empty words, but living truths. They are sealed with affection that preceded your asking. The care for you existed before you even dared to hope for it. And in return, the only thing asked of you is trust, not perfection, not flawless belief, but willingness. Willingness to lean into what you cannot yet see. Willingness to believe that good is unfolding even when circumstances insist otherwise. You realize that frustration will come, that waiting will test your patience. But even then, guidance will not vanish. Light will be given one step at a time, enough to move forward. You do not need to map out the entire journey. You are reminded that worth is not measured as the world measures. Others may point to flaws, highlight failures, or belittle progress. But the presence that speaks to you sees differently. Every struggle, every effort, every step forward, even the faltering ones, are treasured. The quiet assurance is repeated again. You mean more than you can comprehend. Not because of what you achieve, but because of who you are in the gaze of love. No disappointment, no closed door, no rejection can strip that truth away. Even what you interpret as loss or failure may secretly be protection. You are urged to trust that unseen eyes watch over you, shielding you from dangers you did not even know existed. You begin to feel the weight of comparison lifting. You no longer need to measure yourself by the progress of others, their pace, their approval, their journey. It is not yours. The path carved for you is unique, orchestrated with precision. Your steps, even when they feel slow, are aligned with a rhythm beyond your comprehension. Where you thought you were delayed, you are actually being prepared. Where you thought you were overlooked, you are being shaped with care. This intimacy, this quiet exchange, becomes less about answers and more about presence. You are invited not to solve every question, but to rest in being seen. Even your doubts are precious here, received not as rebellion, but as honesty. The whisper encourages you to lean closer, to let silence become sacred, to find that you are not alone in the stillness. In fact, it is in the stillness that you are most deeply held. The words close like an embrace, urging you to keep returning to this place of intimacy, not once, not occasionally, but daily. Let the quiet be your sanctuary. Let the whisper be your anchor. Here you are free to be yourself, fragile, strong, questioning, hopeful. And here you discover again and again that you are loved without condition, that nothing can revoke the promise, that every moment of authenticity draws you deeper into peace. The invitation before you is not to keep striving endlessly, but to surrender. You are told gently but firmly, the burdens you carry were never meant to rest solely on your shoulders. Your worries, regrets, disappointments, and anxieties. These are not proof of failure, but reminders that you are human. And each one becomes an opportunity to lay down what is too heavy and to rest in the embrace that has been extended to you all along. You begin to see surrender not as defeat, but as trust, the willingness to allow love to carry what you cannot. You recall the times you felt stretched thin, worn by pressures you couldn't name. You pushed through, thinking perseverance meant handling everything alone. But here, in this voice, you are reminded that even your smallest admissions of limitation are welcomed. When you confess your weakness, strength rushes in. When you acknowledge your exhaustion, renewal begins. The quiet assurance comes again. Peace is not something you must manufacture. It is gifted to you in the very act of letting go. Doubt will often whisper that you are abandoned, that silence equals absence. But you are told clearly, that voice lies. Presence does not vanish when circumstances grow heavy. Love does not withdraw when your strength falters. You are assured that even faltering steps are honored. Every honest prayer, even when spoken through trembling lips, is received with joy. What the world might call insignificant, heaven names precious. Each small return, each moment of willingness is celebrated as a victory. You are asked to reimagine waiting. It is not wasted time. Waiting, in this context, becomes fertile ground. What feels like delay is actually design, a season where roots grow deep. You are encouraged to see your current uncertainties not as detours but as gardens. Beneath the surface, resilience is forming. Faith is strengthening. Hope is deepening. You are reminded that unseen growth often precedes visible fruit. The silence you've resented is revealed as preparation. Transformation, you realize, rarely happens in dramatic bursts. More often, it is shaped through surrender, through repeated acts of releasing control and trusting a process bigger than yourself. Each moment you lay down fear, each time you resist the urge to control outcomes, you create space for newness to take root. The whisper assures you, in your humility, greatness is born. Not greatness as the world defines it, but greatness rooted in peace, in endurance, in love that perseveres. You are asked to remember that sorrow is not your permanent identity. Pain is not your destiny. Instead, joy is promised as your inheritance. Even now, though the ache lingers, help is on the way. Restoration is closer than you think. This reassurance is not vague optimism, but a steady truth. Every scar can become a testimony. Every closed door can be revealed as protection. Every unanswered prayer can be recast as a lesson in trust. Nothing has been wasted. The whisper grows tender as it speaks of how much you matter. You are told that your value cannot be undone by mistakes, disappointments, or others' rejection. In fact, the very experiences that broke you are now being transformed into sources of wisdom. You are reminded that not all who surround you carry good intentions. Yet, you are not defenseless. Watchful eyes protect you, guiding you through traps you never even saw. You are never left to face battles alone. The message grows practical. Guard your heart, guard your words. Vigilance is not paranoia but wisdom, a recognition that your inner life is sacred. Yet the tone never shifts to fear-mongering. You are reminded that love is your shield, that devotion is your constant. Every vulnerable part of you is precious, both fiercely protected and deeply valued. Even the cracks in your armor are not marks of shame, but spaces where light enters, where grace flows most freely. You are invited to see hardship itself in a new light. What once looked like cruel misfortune is reframed as refining. The heat of the fire does not destroy, it purifies. The weight of challenge does not crush, it strengthens. The waiting that once felt unbearable becomes the space where endurance is trained. The very struggles that tempted you to despair are revealed as the soil where your deepest faith can grow. You are reminded, even this pain will not be wasted. Peace is offered again. Not the fragile kind that depends on circumstances, but the unshakable peace rooted in eternal promises. Each day you rise, you are invited to return to this reality. The covenant is not revoked. The welcome is not withdrawn. However you show up, with trembling, with frustration, with gratitude, you are embraced. Every sigh, every whispered longing, every weary prayer matters. There is no need to prove yourself, no need to meet some impossible standard. You are loved simply because you are. The section closes with reassurance that surrender does not leave you empty. On the contrary, it fills you. As you release anxiety, you make room for joy. As you lay down burdens, you discover strength rising in their place. As you stop striving to control outcomes, you begin to taste freedom. The paradox becomes clear. In giving up your relentless grip, you gain a life anchored in stability. You are reminded once more, you are not abandoned, not forgotten, not lost. You are being refined, strengthened, and prepared for joy that endures. You are reminded once more that your story is not locked into endless cycles of defeat. What others may have declared over you, what your own fears may have whispered, is not the truth that defines you. Instead, you are told, you are being made new. Every step forward, even the faltering ones, carries the imprint of renewal. The voice that speaks to you does not echo the condemnation of the world. It rises above every accusation, announcing that mercy, not mistakes, writes your destiny. This message invites you to stop measuring your life against the progress of others. Comparison, you are told, is a thief of peace. The rhythm of your journey is unique, orchestrated with precision. In the eyes that see you, you are not behind, not disqualified, not late. Your life is unfolding in time with a melody that only you can carry. The tempo may be slower than you desire, but it is deliberate. Every note matters. Every pause is purposeful. You are asked to release the illusion that you must keep pace with impossible standards. The world celebrates speed, spectacle, achievement. But here you are told, I delight not in your frantic striving, but in your honest becoming. Even in seasons where progress feels small, you are seen. The hidden surrender, the quiet yes, the decision to keep moving when you feel stuck. These are victories that resound more loudly than you realize. Heaven rejoices not only in your leaps, but also in your smallest steps. You begin to see how often you've carried the pressure to prove yourself, to meet expectations you never chose, to wear masks of strength while concealing weakness. And yet, the whisper comes again. I did not choose you because of your strength. I chose you because you are mine. My invitation to you is never revoked. No wandering, no hesitation, no weakness can cancel the bond that holds you. This realization unravels the fear that you are one misstep away from being discarded. You are not fragile in love's hands. You are secure. You are invited to believe that even your darkest nights have not disqualified you. The failures you replay in your mind are not greater than the mercy spoken over you. The voice assures you, I specialize in new beginnings. Where you see endings, I see openings. Where you see ruin, I see a canvas. Where you see yourself as broken, I see restoration already at work. The invitation is to risk hope again, to trust that your tomorrow is not limited by your yesterday. This hope does not depend on perfection. It depends on willingness. Willingness to return, to begin again, to say yes, even through trembling lips. Each time you choose hope over despair, forgiveness over bitterness, courage over retreat, you are participating in transformation. And transformation, once begun, does not stop with you. It ripples outward, touching others in ways you may never fully witness. Your smallest act of trust can ignite healing in places far beyond your reach. You're told that grace is not an abstract concept, but an atmosphere meant for you to breathe. It surrounds you, it steadies you, it draws close when you stumble. Even when you feel ashamed of your faltering steps, grace leans nearer, lifting you, steadying you, cleansing you of the lies that tell you you're unworthy. Grace whispers louder than shame. You are chosen, cherished, held. As you lean into this truth, you begin to feel the weight of cynicism break. You realize that the hard shell you've built to protect yourself has also kept you from receiving joy. And so the whisper encourages you. Let hope surprise you. Let gratitude soften your heart. Let yourself receive love without suspicion. Joy does not need to be earned. It is a gift, ready to bloom again even in the soil of disappointment. You are reminded that your story has never been overlooked. What felt like wasted seasons are revealed as essential. The slow growth, the hidden endurance, the lessons in patience, all were part of shaping you. The voice insists, not a single tear was wasted, not a single prayer vanished, not a single failure defined you. Everything has been gathered, woven into a tapestry that, in time, will shine with more beauty than pain. Your identity, you are told, is not fragile. It is not at the mercy of others' labels or judgments. The name written over you is beloved. That word remains steady when all else shifts. No accusation, no memory, no shadow of failure can erase it. It is the foundation you are invited to return to daily. Each morning you rise, you are asked to anchor yourself again in this truth. You belong. You are desired. You are secure. Even when silence lingers, you are assured that silence is not abandonment. It is intimacy. Sometimes what feels like absence is actually deeper presence, teaching you to trust beyond what you see. In those moments, you are told to lean closer, to notice the small gifts scattered in your day. A kind word, a moment of laughter, the warmth of sunlight. Each one is a reminder. You are not forgotten. These quiet notes of affection are placed before you like breadcrumbs leading you deeper into trust. The section closes with a charge. Dare to live as if you are loved, because you are. Dare to release comparison and walk at your own rhythm. Dare to trust that new beginnings are possible even here, even now. The whisper assures you again, I am not finished with you. The journey continues, alive with possibility. Your best days are not behind you. They are still unfolding, and you walk into them not alone, but held in the certainty of love that will not fail. The voice that has carried you through silence and storm now gathers all its tenderness into a final assurance. You are told clearly, directly, without hesitation, you are mine, and I will never let you go. Every word leading here has been building toward this anchor, the truth that no circumstance, no shadow from your past, no accusation from others, and no fear within yourself can undo the bond between you and the one who formed you. You are reminded again that belonging is not something you must earn. It is not fragile, not dependent on performance, not conditional on mood or strength. Belonging is the foundation from which everything else flows. You are already chosen, already cherished, already secured. This truth steadies you when the world shifts beneath your feet. It quiets your racing thoughts when you lie awake at night. It holds you when you rise in the morning, uncertain of the day ahead. This assurance becomes more than words. it becomes ascending. You are not held only for comfort, but for purpose. You are blessed not merely to rest, but to carry that blessing outward. You are told, "Go forward with confidence, not in your own strength, but in the certainty of my presence with you." The whisper becomes a charge, a commissioning. Let love lead you everywhere you go. Compassion, mercy, forgiveness, these are not small virtues, but powerful weapons against despair in the world. You are encouraged to see yourself as a vessel of hope. Every act of kindness you offer, every word of encouragement you speak, every decision to choose love instead of bitterness becomes part of a greater story. What feels small to you resounds in eternity. You are reminded that your impact is not measured by applause or recognition, but by faithfulness. Even unseen choices ripple outward with significance. The quiet victories, the whispered prayers, the hidden sacrifices, they matter more than you know. And so, you are urged to walk forward boldly, even when answers are not clear. You do not need to have everything figured out. You do not need to control every outcome. What is required of you is trust. Trust that goodness will follow you all the days of your life. Trust that the promises spoken over you are not illusions. Trust that you are never alone in the journey. You are reminded that love goes before you, beside you, and behind you. It surrounds you like a shield, covering every direction. The assurance is repeated because repetition carves truth into memory. You are never abandoned, you are never unseen. You are never at risk of being forgotten. Even in your most uncertain steps, you are being guided. Even in your weakest days, you are being upheld. Even in your darkest nights, you are being watched over with care that does not grow tired. This is not optimism, it is reality, a reality stronger than fear, more permanent than doubt. You are invited to live from this confidence. Each morning is a chance to begin again, not in striving but in resting. Each evening is a chance to lay down your burdens without fear of rejection. Every moment in between is an opportunity to walk as someone who is held. Your story is not fragile. Your journey is not random. Your life is not without meaning. You are, and always have been, part of a greater design, woven carefully, intentionally, beautifully. Finally, the voice grows firm, almost like a hand resting on your shoulder before you step into the world. Arise. Do not linger in fear. Do not remain paralyzed by uncertainty. Step forward even if the step is small, even if it trembles. For you do not step alone. You walk accompanied by a presence that cannot be shaken, a love that cannot fail. You are charged to carry this assurance with you, to let it shape how you speak, how you love, how you see yourself, and how you face what comes. The sending is not a dismissal but a partnership. The whisper promises, "I am with you always, even to the end." This is not metaphor, this is not conditional, it is eternal. You are released into your days, not as someone adrift, but as someone anchored, equipped, and surrounded. Your life carries blessing, and you carry it forward into a world desperate for meaning. Wherever you go with this truth. You are held. You are loved. You are mine. And with that, the whisper settles into silence, not because it has ended, but because it now dwells within you, ready to be remembered with every breath. This is where you rise. This is where fear loses its grip and hope takes root. You have heard the voice that knows you, that calls you, that will never abandon you. Carry this truth as your anchor. You are not forgotten, you are not ordinary, and you are not alone. Every step from this moment forward is covered in unshakable love and unbreakable promise. So breathe deep, lift your head, and walk into tomorrow with courage. The story is not over, the best is still ahead, and you are already held.